In recent days, the series of party defections and prominent retirements by Democrats points to a lot of opportunity ahead for the America First movement. Just this week, State Representative Ryan Guillen of Texas announced that he's switching parties over to the GOP. Now, this is big, and it's representative of a much larger systemic move of Hispanics. Now, consider some of the math that undoubtedly motivated Guillen's move. There's one of my chalk talks. In his South Texas district, Donald Trump went from losing that area by 13% in 2016 and then rallied to exactly flip that percentage and win Texas State House 31 by 13% in 2020. And Guillen's district was hardly unique. In fact, in Starr County at large, where Guillen resides, the Trump improvement, it was even more marked. Trump was walloped in 2016 in Starr County on the U.S.-Mexico border. He lost by 60% to Hillary Clinton. But in 2020, he lost it by only 5%. Now, why is Starr County so important? Because it happens to be the most Hispanic county in all of America. And Patriots, 55 percentage point swings in just a 4-year cycle. They simply don't happen, at least not normally. So believe me when I tell you that this kind of data, it's giving Democrat operatives nightmares. So what explains this tectonic shift? Well, on the Democratic side of the ledger, as the party lurches leftward to embrace policies like open borders, abortion until the moment of birth, and gun confiscation, a lot of bad hombre Hispanics who previously voted Democrat suddenly find themselves as effectively political orphans. And then on the positive side of things, Hispanics and working class Americans of all ethnicities and all races increasingly rally to the muscular vision of American nationalism, of strong borders and economic populism. Working class people, after all, pay the most severe price from borders that are porous because illegal workers flooding into our country that depresses wages for blue-collar Americans, and many of them are Latino. Working class people also pay the steepest price for predatory trade abuses, especially from China, which Biden and his Democrat globalist pals in big business facilitated for decades before the America First movement arose to provide some very needed pushback and advocate for a badly needed protectionism for American workers. So for these reasons, the story of Hispanics rallying to the right is not nearly a South Texas tale. Instead, Trump, in fact, saw huge 2016 to 2020 gains in Latino areas all over America, including in some really deeply blue states. Let me be specific. For example, he doubled his vote in the Bronx, New York, which is 90% minority. And he gained 500,000 votes in the largest county in America, the highly diverse LA County. Now, these gains can and should increase in coming elections. Why? Well, Biden's inflation wave has, within just a matter of months, caused economic anguish for all Americans, but especially so for modest earners, many of whom happen to be Hispanic. Just today, Quinnipiac poll released new survey showing that only 16% of all Americans report that the economy is improving under Joe Biden. Only 16%. And in that same poll, 68% report that these elevated price levels in the economy are changing their personal spending habits. No doubt about it. Among Hispanics in that poll, 1% describe the economy as excellent. You heard me right, uno. A paltry, measly 1% of Hispanics describe the economy as excellent. But this trend of looming Dem trouble is hardly just confined to that party losing their once dependable Hispanic support, because if you read between the lines, the torrent of important retirements lately, that tells a crucial tale. Key Democrats, many of them from actually very safe seats and safe states, they rush for the exits. Why? I think it's because they do not want to be in the minority. And they'd rather move on now from political office to their cush lobbying gigs and their cable news contributorships, instead of suffering in the minority with Biden and his absolute failures in governance. Just today, the former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, North Carolina Representative G.K. Butterfield, announced that he's leaving. Earlier, Sherry Bustos, the former head of all House campaigns for the Democrats, announced that she's done. With her departure, the party loses one of its few moderate voices who seemed able to actually connect to blue-collar voters. Jackie Spires is also leaving. She's been working in and around Congress since she was a staffer in the 1970s. She's a very close ally of Nancy Pelosi, who apparently does not wish to stick around and have to watch Nancy pass that speaker's gavel on to a Republican.